not one of the people running for president on either side would I want to vote for. And when people say, you know what, Debbie, well, what about Ted Cruz? I don't think Ted Cruz is eligible to run. I don't think he's a naturalized citizen, and I don't think Rubio is either, based on going back to the Constitution. We have gone so far away from the Constitution that people don't even recognize their own personal freedoms and rights anymore. That we are so far from our founding fathers and the documents that we don't even know what the first five rights in your first five rights in the First Amendment are. That's how far away from the U.S. Constitution we've gotten. Do you know that law is based on case law, not the Constitution now? So when we go to court for private property to defend our private property, we now have to rely on case law instead of the Constitution. That's pretty scary. And the only way we're going to get back to the U.S. Constitution and the liberties and the freedoms that it gives all people is if we start making a serious stand. If you vote the lesser of two evils, what are you still voting for?
An evil.
And we've been duped. And we missed a very big detail. How many people get told that they are conspiracy theorists when they talk about Agenda 21?
Everybody.
So everybody should be showing the video that proves that we are not conspiracy theorists. But I'll tell you, I'll show you who was one of the original conspirators.
The clerk will report the title of the resolution.
House Concurrent Resolution 353, concurrent resolution expressing the sense of the Congress that the United States should assume a strong leadership role in implementing the decisions made at the Earth Summit by developing a national strategy to implement Agenda 21 and other Earth Summit agreements through domestic policy and foreign policy.
Chair now recognizes the gentleman from New York.
Mr. Speaker, I rise in strong support of H-Con Res. 353, expressing the sense of the Congress that the United States should assume a strong leadership role in implementing the decisions made at the Earth Summit in Rio de Janeiro. I now yield to the gentlewoman from California, Ms. Pelosi, the sponsor, to explain the resolution.
The gentlewoman from California is recognized.
I thank the gentleman for yielding. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I thank the gentleman for yielding. In fact, it is a very simple resolution, which the gentleman has just mostly explained. The Earth Summit Environmental Leadership Act, as this is known, presents us with an opportunity to follow up on the important work of the Earth Summit to develop its blueprint, Agenda 21, for global environmental action. H-Con Res. 353 outlines a comprehensive national strategy for sustainable development in accordance with the principles of Agenda 21. I urge my colleagues to support this resolution. We must make the promise of Rio a reality. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The gentlewoman's time has expired. The gentleman from
Did you hear that? Love that she said it's a simple resolution. This is only one of many documents of this so-called simple resolution. But what did she say about Obamacare? And supposedly by the time, I haven't talked about this in a long time, but supposedly I remember hearing something like it's going to be over 200,000 pages. Simple, right? We must pass it in order to find out what's in it. Well, what's in it, what is in United Nations Agenda 21 is the complete takeover of private property. Because under United Nations Agenda 21 and the 3 E's, social equity, environmental justice, and economic justice, private property is considered social and equity. Not everybody can have private property, so therefore that's not fair. When you are going to fundamentally transform the United States of America, and you are going to even the playing field like our president told us, he has not been lying. He has been telling the truth. You just gotta tweak his words and really get to the details of what he means. Why do our politicians not want to hear presentations like this? Because as soon as they hear about Agenda 21, now they have to say, yes, I understand what Agenda 21 is. So, elections are going to come around. You're going to have people coming into your groups, right? Whether you're Tea Party, Republican Women, any other group that wants Politicians are going to be coming by, they're going to want your vote, they're going to want your attention, they're going to want to come into the room and say, hi, I'm here, I've got to rush off, I have another meeting to go to, but let me tell you what I'm all about. I want your vote and I want your money. No more, people, no more. They sit with you and they listen to your concerns in your meeting. You put them at the end of the agenda. They don't want to stick around? Too bad. They're not getting your vote and they're not getting your money. But if they want to stick around and hear your concerns, then great. We'll listen to you afterwards. You agree with me? Will you start doing that in your meetings? Do not let them wiggle their way in and wiggle their way out when your meeting has barely begun. They work for you, not the other way around. So President Clinton said this about Agenda 21, his council. So that video with Nancy Pelosi was when George Herbert Walker Bush was president. George Herbert Walker Bush soft-flagged the United Nations Agenda 21 into the United States of America back in 1992, followed by President Clinton, who created Executive Order 12852, the President's Council on Sustainable Development. I read from you earlier what Agenda 21 is. This is the President's Council, one of the President's Council on Sustainable Development documents. But here's what they said, what Agenda 21 is. Agenda 21 identifies the unsustainable pattern of production and consumption, particularly in industrialized countries. Who?
Us.
So the industrialized countries are the major cause of the continued deterioration of the global environment. Whose fault is it that we have global warming? It's ours, is what they're trying to say. So, because it's our fault, and they didn't want us to know the egregious, the enormous plans. By the way, this document, 1,140 pages, talks about how all human activity is unsustainable. Everything from roads to religion, unsustainable. When it comes to killing the planet, killing biodiversity, killing fauna and flora. So, why didn't we in the United States of America, why is it that 20 years later we are finally hearing about sustainable development? Because, as Gary Lawrence, who sat on the President's Council on Sustainable Development, he's in the state of Washington, he's a planner in the state of Washington, he's a very famous planner in the state of Washington. Here's what he said in a document he wrote for the United Nations. Participating in a United Nations advocated planning process would very likely bring out many, like Debbie Bacigalupi, who would actively work to defeat any elected official undertaking local Agenda 21. So we'll call our process something else, such as comprehensive planning, comprehensive growth management, or smart growth. Jerry Brown has been pushing smart growth, sustainable development, comprehensive planning for years now, for over 20 years. He said this year, Brown said California will meet its goals of reducing carbon emissions to 1990 levels by the year 2020, and within 6 months, we will set a new goal for 2030. Jerry Brown has been involved in United Nations Agenda 21 since he was running as a presidential candidate. How many knew that? Here's a great video to show that Jerry Brown was at the first Rio Earth Summit. This is the kind of stuff that happens at the Rio Earth Summit.
Brothers and sisters, I'm extremely happy to be here with you.
What we have to do here is to organize an entirely new political force to overcome the obstacles to environmental standards.
President Bush, we need change. The world is not going to sit back and wait.
So, our governor has been involved in this a long time. This is why California is leading the way. But not only is our governor behind this, so is Boy Scouts of America. You can look at the green2deepgreen.org website. It's a Boy Scouts of America website. And you can see that the Boy Scout is quoting what Gru Harlem Brundtland, who created this document called Our Common Future. Our Common Future was the beginning of the blueprint for United Nations Agenda 21. Gru Harlem Brundtland was the first female prime minister of Norway, and Maurice Strong of the United Nations tasked her to come up with a sustainable future, and what a sustainable future would look like, and to define the terminology, and this is where they came up with sustainable development. You can see that Boy Scouts of America quotes in Green to Deep Green, Gru Harlem Brundtland, sustainable development is development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. You can see that they have the 3 E's that I talked about earlier: social equity, environmental justice, and economic justice, and where they all come together is where sustainable development in the 21st century happens. You can go to this, learn about sustainability. You can download their PDF. You can also learn how a Boy Scout will get a sustainability merit badge. How? By someone said it earlier, telling on your parents. The Boy Scouts are tasked with coming up with a list of what is sustainable and what is not sustainable. They're supposed to go and tell their scoutmaster or their scout leader the list that the family has. And they talk about that list and they discuss what is and is not sustainable in the 21st century. And then the Boy Scout goes back to the scout leader and says, this is how my family's changing their behavior. Who said, he alone who owns the youth gains the future?
Karl Marx.
Hitler said it. And Common Core is no different. This is a 3rd grade reader. I'll read it to you. It's quite fascinating. I won't wear lipstick today. If it'll make you feel better, Mom called up the stairs. And I'll only drink half a cup of coffee, Dad said. But Judy could hardly hear him over the grinding of the rainforest coffee beans. Her family sure knew how to ruin a perfectly good Mr. Rubbish mood. She put on her jeans and her spotted owl t-shirt. And to save water, she did not brush her teeth. She clumped downstairs in a mad at your whole family mood. Here's your lunch, said Mom. Mom, it's in a paper bag. What's wrong with that? Stink asked. Don't you get it, said Judy. Don't you get it, said Judy. They cut down trees to make paper bags. Trees give shade. They help control what?
Global warming.
Global warming. We would die without trees. They make oxygen and help take dust and stuff out of the air. And then Judy's mom says, dust, let's talk about your room. The students are asked to analyze, the 3rd graders are asked to analyze who's more effective in their messaging. What is the theme and who's more effective? Under Common Core, you are starting to see that the government is now becoming the parent. And you parents don't know anything. And you parents are the cause of the environment and the degradation of the environment. Kids are being taught that cows, that beef cause obesity and global warming. Michelle Obama has been trying to change the children's lunch system ever since Barack Obama got into office. Our own USDA wants us to go to meatless Mondays. But since we're here to educate, did you know, and as a proud person in the ag industry and cattle ranching, that over 98% of the cow is used in something? This whole room is made with livestock byproduct. The tires on your car, stearic acid, livestock byproduct. Asphalt that got you here. If you ride a bike, livestock byproduct. So you cannot possibly be a vegan in the 21st century if you are living in modern society. And we, as rural people, need to start educating others about this. Cows don't just provide you with a healthy protein. They provide you with a lifestyle of just all this stuff. So we need to be better educators of our children and of teachers and people who start saying that livestock cause obesity and they're killing the environment. They're also great at, as you know this, being in a fire-prone area, cows graze down grasses and help us suppress fires. But you know what, just like CalPERS and CalSTRS is being asked to divest from fossil fuels and greenhouse gases, look at all the things that come from fossil fuels. The pacemaker in someone's body, in someone's heart, keeping that person alive is a fossil fuel. So when we're asked to divest because we are causing all this global warming under United Nations Agenda 21, imagine what that's going to do to your lifestyle. The convenience, the inexpensive products that we get, the supply and the demand of just living good lives. I bet you not one person in this room is living an egregious life like our politicians are. What's happening is we are going towards global governance via what is called regionalism, where you're pushing people into high-density living situations under the United Nations Agenda 21, smart growth, comprehensive planning. This is the One Bay Area Plan. How many have heard of the One Bay Area Plan? All of you should know about the One Bay Area Plan because you are a part of the One Bay Area Plan. The One Bay Area Plan locally right now, I'm just talking about the Bay Area right now, but this is expanding out into the rural areas. The One Bay Area Plan is part of the Northern California region. So what's happening in the One Bay Area is, you can see a couple things here. This was their advertising a while ago. They've changed it because mostly Tea Party type people have caught on to what the One Bay Area Plan is and showed up to their Delphi meetings where we were, cornered and told to sit over here because we were too loud and saying, wait a minute, what about private property? You can't do this to people. Where are our elected officials in all of this? Our elected officials aren't anywhere in this. Regionalism is pushed by self-appointed bureaucrats like COGS, Council of Governments. Who's yours here? SACOG. Sacramento
Area Council of Governments.
Okay, Sacramento Area Council of Governments. Did anybody vote for anybody in SACOG? Who hasn't heard of SACOG? Most people have not heard of the COGS, but when you start looking at the COGS that are running the United States of America, it's everywhere. So SACOG, well, this was ABAG. SACOG, ABAG, the Association of Bay Area Government. And they voted for this plan called the One Bay Area Plan. What's the One Bay Area Plan? Where all housing, all building, all construction goes along multimodal corridors. Transit villages. Because of our carbon footprint. Because of laws that were passed in California, the Global Warming Solutions Act, and the Sustainable Communities Strategy. The green, which people live in right now, there's farms, there's ranches in this area, there's wineries. This is San Jose, by the way, Santa Clara County. The green is what they call priority conservation areas. Under the One Bay Area Plan, priority conservation areas are protected for the environment and against construction. So imagine if you have a single family home or a farm or a ranch and you're going to want to build in there. You can't, not under the One Bay Area Plan. But where can you build? In the priority development areas, which is along the multimodal, what's multimodal? Walking, biking, public transportation. Corridors that are going all the way up and down the entire Bay Area. You can see your One Bay Area, our future begins here, begins today. One planet, celebrating the 40th anniversary of Earth Day. Whose birthday is on Earth Day? Marxist, Lenin.
We've got a regional government.
So I have how much time?
5 minutes.
5 minutes. Let me think how I'm going to finish this. I invite you to go to today, as soon as possible, what is called the globalization of California.org. On that site, are videos. I'm one of them, Michael Shaw is one of them, Heather Goss, Rosa Corey, people who have been trying to expose the One Bay Area Plan and Agenda 21. All the videos are free. Each one, Patrick Wood, I don't know if anybody's heard of Technocracy. Extraordinary information. So you could go to this website and find out about the One Bay Area Plan, and I invite you to as in a sense of urgency. Because under the One Bay Area Plan, which is incrementalism towards, think now the frog in the hot water, and they're turning up, the water starts out cool and warming. We are that frog. The One Bay Area Plan, which I just showed you, is the first step to the region that is called the Northern California region. The Northern California region goes all the way from the Bay Area down to San Joaquin Valley and over to Reno. It is a mega region. The United States is being split into mega regions. Here's some more mega regions happening all around the United States. So we have one Bay Area, right? We have Thrive 2055, 5 counties, 1 vision, 1 source, 1 valley, 1 vision. What they are doing under Agenda 21 and regionalism is dissolving the borders. If you have 1 vision for an area, do you need elected officials?
No.
Do you need a mayor when we have all the cities now having the same smart growth plan? Nope. So what if counties all across the United States or regions all across the United States have the same plan? Do you need elections anymore? What are the elections for? If we're all in agreement that this plan, this smart growth, we should all live in high density, houses, and the rural area should be given back to the plants and the animals and the wolves. This is your area right now. Cameron Park Community Mobility Transportation Plan. Implementing complete streets supports the transportation-related policies required by the California Complete Streets Act of 2008, AB 1358, in support of reducing greenhouse gases set by Global Warming Solutions Act, as well as Sustainable Communities Act. You are being, if I could make up something right now, it would be something like you are being Agenda 21ized or something like that. There is still a desire to start this committee. The county staff has indicated that they are willing to help and offer possible alternate organizational charts other than blah, blah, blah. This all to say, it was discussed that this grant would fit well and be a good potential grant to go after. This document did not include you, but you accepted a grant to implement Agenda 21. What is Agenda 21 in a big picture? The red, no human use zones. The yellow, limited to no human use zones. This document, by the way, was based on the United Nations Convention on Biological Diversity. I told you this document has everything that's unsustainable, including religion. When they wrote this document back in 1994, or published it, the United Nations Environment Program, when they published that document, they'd only studied 2 million species. They had about 18 million species that they wanted to study, and this is only 2 million. We are being pushed out of the rural lands based on biodiversity, global warming, and California is leading the way. I know can I ask for like 3 more minutes? Yeah. Thank you. I've shown you some videos that I think are extraordinary to show that it's not, these aren't my words, they're their words. This is another one that by Reed Noss, who's mentioned all throughout this book. He's a professor in Florida, and he came up with this concept. And I think that his short 3 minutes, I think it's 3 minutes, shows you what he had in mind, and then he's going to conclude it with California.
As a grad student back in the 80s, I devised a conceptual framework for a statewide network of conservation areas across Florida. Now, the real map was very detailed. We didn't have GIS back then. Okay, so it was a paper map, a wall map, 1 to 500,000 scale, on which I put overlays, okay, to draw these corridors, core areas, and buffer zones, and so on. So this is a very simplistic artist rendition of that network. Now, as you might imagine, this was perceived at the time as being somewhat radical. It actually appeared after a conference we had on the front pages of newspapers in the state. My advisor was about ready to fire me. I'd kick me out of the university. But, curiously enough, within just a few years, state agencies and mainstream conservation groups like the Nature Conservancy and Florida Audubon Society were starting to kind of secretly refine my map, improve it, and use it to identify priorities for land acquisition.
They were using its maps to identify priorities for land acquisition.
And similarly, some other states now have developed similar networks, especially California, I think, provides a really good example.
That is AB 2785, already passed. California, Caltrans, Department of Transportation, and Department of Fish and Game have already passed this. We already voted for it. It's to acquire land. This, California Foothills Legacy Area, over 18 million acres being studied right now for limited to no human use based on biodiversity. Here's another 2 million acres not far from you. This is being studied for frogs, no human use. And then of course we have the destruction of dams, like the largest destruction going on or trying to happen, which is in the Klamath River Basin, which is where my parents are from. You think Prop 1 was all about water storage? It wasn't, because on the top of page 7, it said specifically, it talked about sustainable community strategies. Now after this presentation, what is sustainable community strategies? It is Agenda 21, and it was right in Prop 1. Prop 1 was never about water storage. It was always about land acquisition and conservation projects, and actually the destruction of dams when you start looking deeper and deeper into it. I'm going to end this presentation with asking you, are you going to sit or stand? Daniel Webster said, make them intelligent and they will be vigilant. Give them the means of detecting the wrong and they will apply the remedy. You all are standing because I think you see what we're losing. It's not funny anymore, is it? And we've got to be serious. Are we going to protect and preserve the gift that we were given in the United States of America as freedom-loving, liberty-loving people? Or are we going to let them take us over, continue to take us over? Like I said earlier, it's going to get uncomfortable. It is. You are going to be pitted against each other. You're going to be pitted against the tribes. It's happening right now. But you got to take a stand. And right now, draw a line in the sand and say, what is it that I'm going to do as a result of what Robert put together today and what you've learned today? It's going to get uncomfortable if you decide not to pay your taxes and file, isn't it? And that's only a decision that you can make. So I just want to thank you for standing for the greatest gift that we've been given. It's up to us to protect it for future generations.
Amen. We can do it for hours, but we have other things to go on to. I think that the quote by Daniel Webster was really quite informative. The right to communicate is our greatest right, and with that we can regain back all of our other rights. I think that that's why we're all here today. Now I'd like to turn the mic over now to Robert Williamson. We are preparing to give the presentation for the Constitutional Achievement Award to our sheriff. Very proud to have our sheriff here today with us, John DeAugustini.
Sean, Joe Bannister. A couple announcements before I talk about why I'm here and what this is all about is Kelly Bennett over here. She has information on the referendum towards your SB 277. She's looking for signatures. Also, these guys down here in the green shirt down here, State of Jefferson, they're also looking for their petition to be signed to if you're interested in that as well. And Jim Donald, he was in here earlier and he had to go. He has flyers on the back here that has to do with fair tax, HR 25